the little housekeeping. I'm Amanda Reagan, and I'm chairing this committee. And one of the things that we have done is had a few people that have signed up already to speak. If you have not done that and want to, Senator Bolcom's got this pad, and he will pass it around and raise your hand, or I have no good idea of how to get that to you. So that's kind of like where we're at. We are waiting for two more members of the committee, Senator Johnson and Senator Segabart, and as soon as they come, we will start, okay? Raise your hand if you want to, or maybe, who's got the sheet now? There. Okay, so maybe we move it this way and, yeah, the sheet. Oh, just put him here.
Thank you.
Could I get the sign-up sheet?
He said 3.
Can I get that sign-up sheet?
Okay.
It's still over
We're
that
not
guy.
gonna have that.
I'm pointing. I don't see it. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's right there.
I don't know.
Thanks.
I'm just going to go ahead and ask the first two members that have signed up, Anna, Whittle, and Rhonda. There she is. If you would come up to the chair to testify. We have two people, so you're on deck.
You want 2 chairs down here?
That sounds good.
There are 2 there now.
There we are.
2 chairs there? Okay, that's enough? Okay. I just got it.
Thank you. Okay, I have the other names that are on deck. So Karen Mutters, if I ruin your name, I apologize. Muters, okay. Karen Muters, Don Dew, Cynthia Shouse, Jeff Edberg, Steve or Tashiba from Systems Unlimited, Kelly Ramus, Linda Levy, and Reyma McCoy, Geoffrey Lauer, and Roxanne. So those are the order that I have. So if you, and the sign-up sheet is going around somewhere here. Yellow pad.
You're watching.
Okay, so there it is. So there are some hands raised in the back. Because we have a short amount of time, we're going to just get right into the nitty-gritty. Despite the disappointment we had yesterday, we realize that more than ever we need to have an oversight bill moving forward. There will be an amendment that's passed out, and it'll be on the web, that what it does is not different to the bill, but it just makes it tighter. So you're welcome to look at that and make comments and let us know after this meeting. Senator Johnson, who is also on this, and Senator Segabart and Senator Mathis and Senator Bolcom are all aware of the amendment, and so we'll continue to have this as a work in progress. Thank you all for being here, and Senator Johnson would like to make a comment.
I just want to make a brief comment. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for everybody for being here, but let's have a measure of decorum here, please. This is a very emotional issue. We know that, but let's let the speaker speak and just no applause, and things. I know you want to, but let's just hear as much testimony as we can. Thank you very much.
And on that note, because we have such a large group of speakers that are interested, if you could limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes, that would be so helpful, because I know it's a lot to say and it's such a deep subject, but please go ahead. And I believe it's Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Whittle. Welcome I'm glad to be here. My sister, niece, and granddaughter are all Medicaid members. My niece, she cannot find a doctor since she moved back to Cedar Rapids in December. She has been looking for one for over 2 full months. She has even solicited the help of a local Find a Doctor service. With over 250,000 people in the Cedar Rapids metropolitan area, and not being able to find a doctor is really heartrending. And that she is not alone. Some providers have stopped accepting Medicaid that have been accepting it, and I know people have lost their doctors because of that now. And this is just one small problem in the sea of issues that the program has, and the program has not even started yet. This and countless other issues are the reason that we need an individual oversight committee that deals with nothing but the issues this Medicaid privatization is causing and will cause in the future. I know that there will be countless issues to come based upon the reports of the states that our governor touts as success stories. These so-called success states have encountered massive amounts of Medicaid denials after the first year of oversight is over. The amount of help the Medicaid members will need will completely overwhelm any existing oversight committee. This is not fair to either group, the one that's getting the Medicaid, or the staff. This is why Medicaid will need its own oversight committee in place by April 1st, with the needed 134 ombudsmen to cover 560,000 people. This is a figure of 4,179 people per ombudsman. That's a hard word for me to say. Would any of you want that job, let alone the levels recommended by the governor for ombudsman? In closing, to overwhelm an existing oversight committee with 560,000 new assigned members is just not right. This committee needs to have family members, beneficiaries, and providers involved. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Shouse. I'm from Marion. Thank you so much for letting us come and speak with you today. I've been following this issue very, very closely since last spring, and I really appreciate all of you and your support in this particular issue. I do want to encourage you with the oversight bill to really push for a very comprehensive, a very robust oversight bill. There's been discussion from various legislatures and public comments, possibly using an existing committee of some type, such as the MAC Council, and I really want to encourage you to understand that that is not adequate. This is one of the top 2 expenditures in the state. We're talking about over 500,000 people impacted, and if it is that important and that large, it warrants a standalone oversight committee, and I really encourage you to champion that for us. I apologize, I don't know if I said I am actually a Medicaid member too. I'm a beneficiary myself. Used to be a newspaper reporter, never saw myself in this situation. Life can change in a day. So I really, I encourage and caution anyone who thinks it does not impact them. Tomorrow could be a different story. I do also want to suggest that with an oversight committee, it should be nothing about us without us. It is very important to have beneficiaries, family members, and providers to have input on that committee. I think we've got a group called MCO Watchdog on Facebook. We have been extremely active. We've learned a lot about the legislative process. We have helped bring about the 2 delays that have happened. I think we've proven we can rise to the challenge of being a member of such oversight committee. So please include us. Thank you.
Thank you for all you've done. You certainly have been a strong advocate. We wouldn't be as far as we are without all of the folks that are in this room. You're what brought them along the first delay. So the next 2 are Karen and Don.
Okay. My name is Karen Muters, and this is Derrick, and we are from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I have 3 of my children with me that are beneficiaries. 9 of them are beneficiaries. They're adopted children that we've had for practically from birth, most of them. And we're very concerned about this situation, and I'm here to maintain that we still are in the dark about so much. Even though CMS has shared that the MCOs have made so many improvements, we as beneficiaries have yet to see it. I just learned today as I was coming down here that we finally have letters confirming that my 9 are indeed accepted with the MCO that I requested. In the beginning, they were all across the board. They were not under the same MCO. And we're trying to communicate with our case manager and the MCOs, and we're still getting in our our providers, and they're still saying to us, I don't know, we don't know how that's going to work yet. And as one of you shared, would you buy a car or a house this way? And there's 560,000 people in Iowa that are being forced to accept this program without knowing the terms of the agreement and how much they're going to lose or how much they're going to have to pay. And we just really earnestly need to have an oversight committee to help monitor this program as it goes on. And yes, it does need to have all types of people representing all of us. Thank you for your time.
Very much. Don?
Good afternoon. My name is Don Dew from Disabilities Resource Center in Sioux City. I am a beneficiary of Medicaid. And I would just like to have an opportunity to give you a few comments. As you all know, oversight is usually something that is in all policy making, but usually it's done at the forefront, not at the back end, like we see now. I have very many years of experience doing Medicaid research and analysis in states such as Kansas, as they were switching over to managed Medicaid, and other states. And it appears almost like we've waited till the barn, or till the horse has gotten out of the barn, and now we're trying to close the barn door. But that doesn't mean that we have to stop. When I did research and looked at policies, I looked at two things to see whether they were good policies. And number one is, does it have consumer participation? Which that will get me to the MAC Council in a moment. Number two, who handles the enforcement of an oversight policy? We haven't heard anything about the enforcement yet. There has to be teeth if there's enforcement. If there's any type of oversight policy without teeth, what incentivizes a governor or a Senate or anybody to even go along with it? And that brings me to the Medical Assistance Advisory Council, or the MAC. We have that right now, which is a CMS suggested policy, which now is a state statute. Our state statute says public representatives should include members of consumer groups, including representatives of medical assistants or their families, consumer organizations, and others, equal in number of the number of representatives of their professional entities. Currently, there's one consumer, 3 of the public organizations. The governor finds that fine. I don't know if anybody else finds that fine. There's 33 vacancies that are not being filled. My representatives have had contact with the Attorney General for an opinion. Since November, they have not made an opinion.
And we addressed some of that in this legislation.
I see that.
So,
And but there also is, where's the teeth?
right.
And that's where there has to be something more. There always has to be something more. And my suggestion is just my opinion from what I've done, is instead of a governor-appointed board, looking at a Senate bipartisan committee appointing members.
Okay.
And
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it, Don. Cynthia and Jeff Edberg.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work, Senators, that you've been doing on behalf not only of the 560,000 Iowans directly affected, but there are hundreds of thousands of people indirectly affected as well. The care providers, the families, the friends. This is an important issue. If there are 3.5 million people in Iowa, my goodness, there's 25% of the people of Iowa that are affected directly and indirectly by this issue. I am the father of a disabled child. He's profoundly disabled. He is a sweet boy. His nickname at school is Charmer. His name is Colin, and he lives at an intermediate care facility in Dubuque, Iowa. They do a fantastic job. He feels safe. I've asked him. He calls it home. I've asked him that too. And with this issue, Colin is not able to survive in the world without 24/7 care. He would not live one day if he was sent out the door. So this is a very important issue for me, that I called my MCO about prior approval and some other details, and they said on April 1st we can give you the answers. We can't give you the answers before that. We don't have any staff. And I said, what happens to my son on April 2nd? And they didn't have an answer for that. So after that, I called Iowa Medicaid Enterprise and was told by IME that the only difference here, the only difference is that there's a name change from Title 19 to MCO. I got worried at that point, and I said, I've downloaded and read all the bid documents. I've read everything I could possibly read on this issue, and I don't think that's actually true. And the IME worker maintained that it was, and I said, would you send me a letter telling me that you won't send my son out the door on April 2nd? She said, well, we won't do that, Mr. Edberg, but I can't write that down. And so we need oversight. We need some redress for this. This is an important issue. This is not statistics. This is not Republicans and Democrats. This is not Congress and Senate and administration. This is people. And they're important people, and they need better than what we're offering them. They deserve that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. You might want to get closer to the microphone,
Okay.
just because we have people out in the
Okay, is this
area,
better?
so they can't always hear. That's
Okay.
better, yes.
This is my first time speaking like this, so sorry if I'm nervous. Hi, my name is Cynthia Shouse. I'm almost 23 years old and have been a Medicaid beneficiary for about as long as I can remember. I'm here today as an advocate as well as a beneficiary because the privatization of Medicaid affects me and hundreds of thousands of others, 560,000 to be exact. It is something that needs to be talked about. Iowa Medicaid managed care is a huge mess. From the ludicrous speed at which this has been so very rudely thrown in all of our faces, to the fact that it's been almost 6 months since packets have been started being mailed out, yet my best friend still has not gotten her initial enrollment packet. It was also told she couldn't be found in the system. It is mandatory that this process be looked at thoroughly with common sense and with the people in mind, not money or partisan politics. This whole thing is flat out ridiculous. My mom, Rhonda Shouse, put our bus trip today together with some help from all those from the MCO Watchdog group who are here today and more. We are the people impacted, so it is we who deserve and should be allowed to have the main say of what happens to us. After all, it is we the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve or Tashiba and Kelly. If you want to go ahead and just start, that's fine.
My name is Tashiba. I'm 33. The Medicaid, sir, I received let me work and keep my job and keep me on my feet. The companies need to be watched. They need people like us on committee. They know, they know more about making money than they know about us. We won't stand a long oversight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Steve Oulman. I am 28 years old. I live in a group home in Iowa City. I use a motorized wheelchair, as some of you can see. I don't know if everybody can see, but things need to slow way down as fast as these companies are, things need to slow way down as fast as these companies trying to take over our Medicaid. All these companies are about, all these companies are trying to take over our Medicaid. All these companies care about is profit. They should care more about the people's well-being. Companies need to stand alone in oversight. I have at least a dozen different doctors. I'm positive all the doctors aren't signed up with the same providers. And I need all the doctors. I also have certain medical supplies I need, and I need the best ones available. Also, my staff get paid through Medicaid. Without Medicaid, I will lose my place to live and my staff. I need help, or I need them to help me do everyday things. Please don't take my rights away to live my life the way I need to and what's comfortable for me. I need, or thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. The next two are Kelly Ramus and Linda Levy.
Got me? All right. Okay. My name is Linda Levy. Members of my family are currently on Medicaid. I've never publicly advocated for an issue in my life. I'm just amazed. I have all these prepared things to say, and just being here, look at all these people. They need help. I'm of average means. I can get around, I can do things. It's my son that I advocate for. But how many people are immobile? They have absolutely nobody to advocate for them. I am so proud of everybody that is here. We've made so much progress in getting this delayed so that work can be done to make it go more smoothly. I hope we can continue to do that. And I think a strong oversight committee with all of these people involved and all of you involved, helping each other cooperate together to make something that really is going to work for everybody, not just for a financial bottom line. So I really appreciate being here. I really appreciate it. And I want everybody here to be so proud that you're here. I'm just totally impressed. So all my talks are out the window, and I really want strong oversight. All these people need to be involved. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done. Thanks.
Kelly?
Hey, Ramus. I represent 3 biological children, or 2 biological children of my own, one that has been adopted, and I'm also a provider, and my client lives with my family. I'm just going to go to basics. Trust. That's the belief in someone or something that's reliable, good, honest, and effective. Integrity. Adherence to moral and ethical principles. Soundness of moral character and honesty. Character, a set of qualities that make a place or a thing different from any other place. Quality, a high level of value or excellence. Accountability, an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility. Disability, a condition that damages or limits a person's physical or mental abilities. Partnership, an arrangement in which 2 or more share the profits and the liabilities. We all know that this is not what we have seen with this train wreck. Many of these issues have been broken. The people of Iowa, 560,000, are pleading for some kind of oversight. I did a little research. 2 of my children, well, all 3 of my children that have Medicaid, have all participated in the Children's Mental Health Waiver. Last night, out of 199 pages that are listed on the IME website, only 177 showed up. I was looking for the dollar amount. With the CMH waiver, $1,967 goes to that client or enrollee. Of that, if the enrollee does not use it, they lose it. Currently, if I don't access all of my respite, family and community supports, in-home therapy, home and vehicle modifications are all part of this package. And again, it's a use it or lose it. It's the only waiver. We have 8 waivers in the state of Iowa. With this particular waiver, how it works right now is if I don't use these services or these monies, it goes back to Medicaid. I cannot find an answer of where this money is going to go with an MCO. Does the MCO get to profit from lack of services because our rural communities don't have respite providers or in-home family therapy? Or is the MCO going to send the money back to the state of Iowa? We have no answers on this. It is critical that we have an oversight committee that meets the criteria of trust, integrity, character, quality, accountability, understanding disabilities, and creating a partnership that is successful. My kids, all they want to do is grow up and be working citizens within the state of Iowa. That's their goal. Isn't that everyone's goal? Thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you. And in this piece of legislation, we address that very issue that you're discussing right now and brought to our attention. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's see, Reyma and Geoffrey Lauer.
Reyma McCoy McDeid, Executive Director with Central Iowa Center for Independent Living in Des Moines. At CISL, we are people with disabilities serving people with disabilities. And 30 years ago, I was diagnosed with autism. So, fun fact. I also tend to run at the mouth, so instead of me doing that, I'm going to share some words of wisdom from the Texas Medical Association. Recently, some advocates and medical ethicists have appeared who argue that the Hippocratic Oath and the physician's fiduciary duty to the patient are outdated and obsolete. They argue for a new ethic that directs the duty of a physician to the group, the entire population of patients, rather than to an individual patient. Their new ethic would replace the timeless one discussed by the Council on Ethical and Judicial Affairs of the American Medical Association in its paper Ethical Issues in Managed Care. There is something frightening about this new ethic that should alarm every advocate for individuals with disabilities. This new ethic is marked by an excessive preoccupation with efficiency. It sees the elderly and individuals with disabilities as intolerable and too burdensome for a vibrant society emphasizing prevention, wellness, and health maintenance, armed with cost containment and utilization review policies, and with statistics and standards of practice based on cost averaging and of best case scenarios, rather than with medical knowledge. It considers individuals with disabilities as marginal humans whose health can no longer be afforded by the nation. But that is just what the genius of the ADA prohibits, and the Congress intended to outlaw with the adoption of the ADA. The ADA demands that individuals with disabilities be free of discrimination based on their disabilities, and that they be treated on a case-by-case basis, not that they be lumped together in broad categories so that the most expensive or the most burdensome can be excluded from the mainstream of society, be denied health care, education, or employment, or be deprived of their most vital relationships. My question is, how are we going to do this the Iowa way? Because this does not sound like the Iowa way to me. And the only way that I think that we can do this is with the robust participation of Iowans with disabilities, their parents, guardians, and advocates, and providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff.
Thank you. That's good to follow up on that. I'm Geoffrey Lauer. I'm a former director of a chapter of the ARC of Iowa. Currently serve as the executive director of the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa, also on the Iowa Olmsted Committee. Medicaid's been an essential safety net for more than 50 years, since 1965. A number of years ago, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the ACA, added millions of Americans onto Medicaid, providing insurance for people who hadn't had it for forever. Iowans with disabilities and their families who depend on Medicaid have enjoyed that coverage for many, many years. However, persons with disabilities in Iowa and across the country have needed and have used, but in 2011, for example, up to 49% of Medicaid expenditures. People with disabilities need and use an inordinate amount of Medicaid services and supports. It's just something we know. We also know that the data from other states who've crossed the bridge and gone down the road of managed care have been able to save money with managed care through two primary ways. One, they reduce the amount of money that providers get for providing services. And two, they reduce and decrease access to services for people. The people who depend most on those services, of the 500,000+ people that we're talking about, are the 150,000 Iowans who stand to be at the most vulnerable apex of this transition. So what I want to do, and to follow up on a previous comment, is talk about really 6 key points that this process that you're moving forward on, Senate File 2213, has to ensure, as well as your future efforts, that Medicaid for people with disabilities in Iowa is accessible, is available, is appropriate to people with disabilities, is acceptable to people with disabilities, is affordable to people with disabilities and their providers, and is accountable. Let me just quick run down again. Accessible. There have to be providers within a reasonable distance. Transportation has to happen, otherwise people don't have access. And information about how to get access has to have oversight. We have to make sure that information is appropriate for people in the different ways that they need it. It has to be available. There have to be a sufficient number of providers. We know that Medicaid transition to managed care was delayed, in part because of an insufficient provider network. It's going to happen now on April 1st. We also know that availability is not there right now for people on the waiver waiting list for Medicaid. There are more than 10,000 Iowans waiting for waiver services through Medicaid for more than 2 years. And the other availability piece that I think that there have been some movement to deal with is, for example, the services themselves, therapies for kids. There have to be accessible services in that way. They have to be appropriate. It has to be the right kind of care for people with disabilities and other people on Medicaid. Specialists have to be available and accessible, and the appropriate specialists have to be there. Acceptability. The services have to be patient-centered. We say that and person-centered all the time, but it's harder to do than to say. Culturally competent, conflict-free. Affordability. We hear a lot at the State House that Medicaid is becoming unaffordable. Well, we have to make sure it's affordable to people with disabilities and people who need Medicaid, and affordable for providers to provide those services. In some parts of the state, people are going out of business. Lastly, accountable. We have to ask you to be in this for the long haul, not just Senate File 2213, but to maintain that accountability over time. Thank you.
Just for anybody who delivers any comments, if you would like to give us handwritten comments, we would appreciate those afterwards. We're trying to jot notes down on all this, and it is being live streamed.
I'll send you my
but
6
it
days.
would be really great. You know, you had great comments as well, and others that have. So if you have hard copy, that would be really great. Or email them to us as well.
We'll do it.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Reagan.
Roxanne, you're up next. There you are. And then the next one would be Daniel, was back there.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for introducing, my name is Roxanne Cogil, Director of Iowa Epilepsy Services for the Epilepsy Foundation. Thank you for introducing this oversight bill for Medicaid managed care. It is critically important to track and report the outcome of individual requests and maintain transparency and accountability of the Medicaid program. 1 out of 100 people live with epilepsy, and 1 out of every 26 people will develop epilepsy by the time they will reach their elderly years. And 1/3 of the population of people with epilepsy have seizures that are uncontrolled, which are intractable. Medications are the frontline treatment for managing seizures. It is important for individuals with epilepsy to access their medications, treatments, specialists, therapies, services. It is all very critical. It is also important to make sure that the state preferred drug list stays intact and to make sure it continues to be managed by the state and not by different entities. Minimize step therapies and other restrictions implemented by the managed care organizations will decrease the barriers in order for people to access their medications. Whenever physicians prescribe medications for patients with epilepsy, we can't have fail first and step therapies. They are increased barriers for accessing care. It is also important to equip the long-term ombudsman group with the additional resources to handle the increased volume of calls that they will be receiving with the managed care program. And lastly, we ask that you please consider adding the Epilepsy Foundation to the list of entities to serve on the council as a voting member. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
My name is Daniel Britt. I represent the Iowa Occupational Therapy Association. I'm also work at Northern Iowa Therapy. We have 150 providers of occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy throughout rural communities of Northeast Iowa. I wanted to first talk about our difficulties or challenges with the Hawkeye program. On January 1st, the Hawkeye program, our speech therapy, transitioned away from Blue Cross and Blue Shield being an administrator of Hawkeye to United Healthcare. And we found out that United Healthcare would not cover speech therapy for common childhood diagnoses. So we found ourselves turning people away. People were discharged. We later found out that United came back and said we would honor the Blue Cross and Blue Shield pre-authorization. So we thought golden. But by that time, these authorizations have already expired. So again, we are still turning people away. That was not a fix for that. Secondly, we've sent in claims that United said they would honor the pre-authorization. All of these claims have been rejected. We have met with leadership from IME, Sean Bagneski. We've met with leadership from United Healthcare. We thank people on both sides of the aisle, the Republicans and Democrats, for setting up meetings every 2 weeks with Iowa pediatric therapy providers. And at that meeting, Sean asked leadership from United to set up a point person to help with all of these denied claims. United Healthcare refused to send up a point person. They said that if they set up a point person, they cannot measure call metrics such as the waiting time, etc. And I think that refusal speaks volumes to an MCO's commitment to making this work, to working with providers, etc. So we do need leadership for this. And I get that we have to balance a budget. I get it. There's a lot of things that need to be covered. There's a limited amount of money. But as providers, we need answers, we need clear answers, and we need some oversight just that has some teeth to make this work. So speech therapy was the first canary in the bird cage. Starting April 1st, occupational therapy is our next canary in the bird cage. So with occupational therapy, they go live with Hawkeye with the MCOs April 1st with the 2 MCOs. United Healthcare will cover occupational therapy. But the other 2 MCOs, one will not cover it, and one only covers occupational therapy for the upper extremity. So now we face people coming in. If you need occupational therapy, you go this MCO. If you need physical therapy or speech therapy, you go this one. If you need both, we have no answer for you. And that was not the case when Blue Cross and Blue Shield was it. So we go to all these meetings saying benefits would not change. I have very specific examples of benefits changing, and I will be happy to share those with you more in detail. Secondly, when we go on to the United Healthcare website, you bring up the manual. We have therapists listed as being providers for United Healthcare MCO. We haven't signed a contract with them. How are our providers on there? So they've taken the community healthcare, because we do have providers on the community one, non-MCO related, and they've transferred that to the MCO website. So people in this room, if you see providers with United Healthcare and you think Golden, that's what we have patients come in, Golden, I picked United. We're not a provider with them. People look at us perplexed. They don't get it. So, and on behalf of Iowa Occupational Therapy Association, we have many other pediatric providers stating this. It gets more muddy yet. Under MCO, our entity, Northern Iowa Therapy Associates, is an institutional provider. We do not credential each individual of our 150 providers. With United Commercial, they won't recognize our institutional status. We individually credential. So how are these individual names getting on to the MCO website? So these numbers are coming out. X percentage of providers in Iowa are signed up with the MCOs. It's a mess. It's a beehive, and I don't even know how to sort through it. Next. We are a rehab agency under Title 19, an institutional provider. We have specific coverage requirements. Our coverage requirements are not subject to an annual cap that a therapist in private practice has. All 3 MCOs, if you look in the provider manuals, it says all occupational, physical, and speech therapy are subject to an annual cap. We've been going back and forth for months with MCOs about this. I even sit on the MAC Executive Council on behalf of IOTA, and I can't get an answer, and I'm on the council. So how can other people get an answer? United Healthcare has finally come back and said, yes, we will recognize your institutional status. I can't get answers from the other 2 MCOs. We've gone through Sean Bagneski, we've gone through proper channels, and we're not getting a response. We need oversight just to get clear answers back to our specific questions. Next. The committee needs some teeth to get answers back. From my experience with this, we've gone through proper channels, and if no answers come back, there's no consequence. I don't know what that involves. If it's a report card, if it's fines, etc., but there needs to be accountability back. In closing, I get we have to balance the budget. We have to do things smarter. We have to figure this out to provide a population of people with the best care possible. But I'm telling you, we as providers need clear answers, and we are not getting them now. And we beg you people at this table that have some teeth to make this happen so we can get clear answers and provide the people in Iowa the care that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Patty Bole, speech pathologist, and Carla Dempsey.
Go ahead. If you push the button, there you go.
Thank you. My name is Patty Bole. I'm a speech pathologist that serves children who are on Medicaid. I'm also a parent of a 31-year-old special needs adult son. And the thing that I'm probably the most concerned about, there is no continuity between the three companies and as far as covered services. So how do you know which to choose? Because as they've stated, other individuals have stated before, the benefits vary. So basically Medicaid is gone, and it's gone to just private health care companies. There is no longer Medicaid in my eyes. Just to give a couple examples of things that are can be a nightmare, my son gets transportation to and from work. What could possibly happen, our caseworker has indicated, is that he will have Company A take him, Company B will pick him up, tomorrow Company C drives. I have no idea who to call in a snowstorm to find out where is my son Ryan, and he's someone that likes to be on time. Anyone who has a child likes routine. There's no routine with this. As a provider, the pre-authorization, how long is that going to take me come April 1st? Do I go on vacation for 30 days, 60 days because I can't work? And then do my patients have no services? So that is a huge concern. I think most people have expressed great concerns here, and I hate to see these wonderful benefits that have gone for people with disabilities no longer exist. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carla Dempsey. I'm from Mason City. I don't have any wonderful numbers to share with you. I'm a parent. My son is in a better situation than a lot of his peers. He does have private insurance. And I'm here to speak on the benefit of other parents. I have two friends whose children are special needs. Both have seizure disorders. Last week, one of the parents went to refill her child's monthly medication. $2,000 copay. Okay, $2,000 for all the medications for that one month. She's a young adult. She's 26. She gets disability. She makes in 1 month $1,500. That's it. It seems to me that we're coming down here to a choice of, are we going to get the medications, or are we going to allow this individual to live? Really? Is that what it's going to come down to? Is it Iowa's way of saying, yeah, you're not welcome here because you have a disability? These individuals, the disability can vary from mild to severe. My son is autistic. It's fairly mild. Hopefully he'll be able to get a job and he will become a productive member of society. But my friend's children will never be able to do that. My other friend, she has a 15-year-old daughter. She called all of the MCOs to figure out the formularies for the medications her daughter takes. What it came down to is the copay would cause her to lose her home. No home for the parents, no home for the child. What kind of message is Iowa sending to your population, really? It's a touchy subject. I wanted to speak from the heart because this just brings tears to my eyes. Am I thankful that my son's not in that boat? You bet. But I can't help but feel for these other people. And I'm proud to be an Iowan. And right now, I'm telling you, I'm not so proud. I don't know what the answer is. I don't sit where you all sit. And I do thank you for all that you've done thus far, but we need more. We need more. Something has to happen. Something has to be done because this is not working out. It will not work out. I had one of the parents took 2 days off from work and spent it on the phone with the MCOs and IME trying to figure it out. And guess what? They did not correspond. Somebody's lying. don't know who it is. These parents also take their children to Minnesota for part of their care. They see neurologists, one at Mayo Clinic. She took her daughter up a month ago to see the pediatric neurologist at Mayo Clinic. Does anyone have a guess how long the waiting list is at the University of Iowa Pediatric Neurology Clinic?
About 2.5 years. 'Cause
Yep.
You told me that already.
Yep. Her daughter can't go 2.5 years without seeing a neurologist. She has a seizure disorder. Neither parent can let their child go that long. And the neurologist at Mayo has enough patients from the state of Iowa who have Medicaid. She point blank said there is no way the University of Iowa is going to be able to absorb all these patients. We don't know what's going to happen. So we're looking towards you as our legislators to help us with this situation. We're placing our faith with you. These are our children, and you know what? These children could be your future, your grandchildren's future. They really could. You don't know what some of these kids may be capable of when the time comes and they grow up. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. The next, Kirsten Phillips and Shelley, is it Jasper? There you are.
Oh, good, I gotta go first. Okay, I know I'm gonna start crying. Sorry. My name is Shelley Jaspering. 10 years ago, I had an accident and I ended up a quadriplegic. I had no idea. I worked almost full-time since I was 15, and I didn't know I was gonna be able to go back to work. I didn't know how I was gonna live. I didn't know where I was gonna live. I lived with my parents for 2 years because we were on a waiting list to get on Section 8, and there's no accessible housing in Ames without carpet. It's ridiculous. Now I currently I'm purchasing a Habitat house that's fully accessible to me. It's awesome. I want to keep it, but I'm concerned with these changes. The reimbursement rates are already low for my waiver. They're lower for CDAC services for people to come in and help me. They are lower than what most companies charge by the hour. So they can't hire people that will stay on at that rate. I can't hire people privately because I waited 8 months for a background check currently for someone, and I need people right away. So I go to companies, and I rely on these companies. So if they don't use the MCOs that I'm with, then I don't know where to go. Ames is a decent-sized town, but I have a hard time finding services. I called a dozen places in December, and they all said, we can't provide you services, we can't provide you services. So if it's already a problem, I'm concerned that it's going to be worse. I went back to work within 6 months after working because I was lucky. I had a great job, and so I've been working the entire time, part-time. I would love to go back full-time if I could, but I need the morning cares and night cares and things like that because I technically am quadriplegic, so I look like a para, and so you can't always judge people by how they look, obviously. So I just try to be as independent as I possibly can, but also that first year finding a doctor in Ames so that I didn't have to come down to Des Moines just for a cold, nobody would accept me because they didn't understand quadriplegia. So a doctor had just moved to Ames in 2005, and he said, I'll take you on as long as you're willing to learn with me. And I said, yeah, as long as you'll take me, that's where I'll go. And so I'm concerned if I lose doctors. Along with what that other lady said, I had one, when I was switching over to Medicaid, I went to pick up my pills, and they said it was going to be $900 for a month of pills. And I was like, what? And they said, oh, we hadn't got your Medicaid information yet. That was 10 years ago or whenever I got on it officially. So I'm concerned if I lose access to my meds and things like that. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. One accident away, anyone can be on Medicaid. I think you're a great example of that, and I really appreciate you coming to testify. Thank you. Kirsten.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Phillips, and I just wonder about the Medicaid for my daughter. and my dentist and my foot doctor, my therapist, and also my physical for the Medicaid to go to camp. And I just want to make sure that this new complaint of taking care of myself, and also they will stand alone and oversight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Now, Brian, is it Buelow? Brian, and then Glenna Clark from with occupational therapy. Is Glenna here? Ah, if you want to go ahead and start on the other chair. Just move the microphone for him. There you go. There you go.
Thank you. I'm Gloria Clark. I'm with the... Oh, no, that's okay. I'm with the Iowa Occupational Therapy Association, and I'm here to talk with you today about occupational therapy for our organization as well as for our clients. I want to support the coverage of occupational therapy in the bill because some are covering and some are not covering. If you don't know, occupational therapy focuses on improving health and the quality of life by promoting participation in your occupations, your activities, the things that you do every day. So we're very client focused. We look to you to tell us what you want to work on cutting costs and positive outcomes for people. So we address both the physical and the mental aspects of our clients. So for instance, we would work on self-care. We would work with our clients on their hand skills so that they could perform. You know, think about how many times you've used your hands today, and if you couldn't use them, what you would need, and that's where your OT would come in handy. We work on accessibility. We work on socialization and job skills. So I just want to give you a little case study here. There was a child, have worked in pediatrics for almost 40 years. There was a child who was 6. He had autism, and he came in for OT. We could not even test him because he was running around the room. You couldn't get him to sit down, couldn't get him to do anything. So we started working with him. 6 months later, he could sit for 20 minutes. He could write his name, he could write sentences, he could play in the gym. He now had the strength that he was able to play out with his friends on the playground. The parents were excited because he could now go to the restaurants with him and he was able to dress himself. If you're not familiar with it, there's actually research that shows that the daily living skills are more important to a child with autism than any of their symptoms, their language, or their IQ when it comes to employment and life satisfaction. So not having OT coverage is going to be really hard for families. In this child's case, what happened was that his father lost his job, and they lost their insurance, which had been covering OT. And suddenly they went to Hawkeye, which may or may not, as other people have talked about, covering. So we look at all those skills that this child has learned and his ability to go on, and I have no doubt this child will actually, someday you will read about the positive things that he was able to do, but now you wonder what will happen. So I just wanted to ask again that you think about services, for occupational therapy services, and the criticalness that they are for people with disabilities so that they can access our services that they have come to depend on. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it. Delaine Peterson and Della Mull.
I'm Delaine Peterson. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I recently retired as Executive Director for the ARC of East Central Iowa, where we do represent 800 individuals who mostly rely on Medicaid, as well as all the people who love them, surround them, and support them. Two of those people were my children. My son died a few years ago, but our daughter is still alive. She's 40. She's profoundly disabled, and she lives with her dad and me, and it's because of Medicaid services. Never in my wildest dreams did I believe I would have two children with profound disabilities. We were so lucky to live in Iowa, where people care about one another, where they build supports that people can thrive and be part of a community, and she has been that, along with many, many others. We have been exemplary in the United States. We have cut ground that other people didn't think was possible. And here we are today looking at a new paradigm. CMS has apparently approved a grand plan to become more efficient. I'm not sure about more effective, but certainly change is here. What really concerns me is that we have had a group of people that we elected, we the people elected, to look out for us. We sent all of you to Des Moines to look out for us, both in the Senate and in the House. I see that people in the Senate, both parties, have looked at this carefully and with compassion. That is not true in the House of Representatives. I am bitterly disappointed that this is not a bilateral effort to look out for the citizens of Iowa, whether they are destitute, elderly, disabled, or whatever causes them to have Medicaid. We need oversight by all elected officials of this state to look out for its citizens. I am appalled that we are not universal in our outlook for Iowans. It sends a horrible message. We just went through caucuses, and we are looking at a time where everything is very partisan. I think it's time that both houses start working together and looking out for Iowans.
Go ahead. Hello. I'm Della Mull. I am a home care provider, a foster parent, and I have a couple different issues I'd like to speak to you about. I also represent CDAC providers across the state of Iowa through ASME. We are their union that they can belong membership to. So I receive calls from people who are providers regularly and lately more often. One of the major problems is all of the discontent about what is actually needed to continue services as they have known them in the past. I got a call yesterday, and I will turn in this here program. One of the things I want this group to understand is that these agencies are privatizing other parts of the program that they're offering us out to another leg. And so I want to make sure every single one of you are aware of that, because how many times are we going to let people take funds off of this little bit of money that comes down to meet this person's needs? And when they add another link, and they add another link, and they add someone else, each one of those steps is taking funds. I don't know how they think they're going to make a profit when there's all these people in line to make money. And so this card came to my provider yesterday, and you can turn it in. And I felt that we had accomplished something, because we felt that the CDAC providers were going to be moved forward and so that they didn't have to sign these contracts that they had already been sent ton of, and with language that no one could understand, that we were all going to be moved forward. But according to this stuff that come yesterday, is you still have to go to a website and get your stuff completed. And this is another leg to one of the agencies. So AmeriHealth. So you got to really be careful about all these extensions, and we want to make sure we have good representation on this board. The other thing I want to talk about is foster children. If you take a step back and we go in and we take a child out of their home, and when we do that, we're telling that child, we're going to make your life better. We're going to offer you a home. We're going to make things consistent. Maybe you'll have a mom and a dad and someone who goes to work, and you can have a future. But when the governor or the department was thinking about bringing in this change, why were they not thinking about their children? These children that are in foster care are the state's children. Why weren't they thinking about their children when they jumped into this thing? Because they knew their children has to have a psychiatrist. Their children has to have a doctor and a dentist. They knew all that things before they jumped off this cliff. So what happened? We cannot sit back and not have representation on this board to make sure children that we, the state of Iowa, are responsible for get the medical care and stuff that they deserve. Because we would be just like a deadbeat dad who does not support his children when he's not having a job. And we take away his driver's license. We do all kinds of stuff to him. So why is the state of Iowa going to get away with this? We can't let it happen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. The next two, yes, we're trying to keep anybody's statements that if you have hard copy.
So the young man that spoke to us a little earlier, Brian, just so that we all know, he's 43 years old, and he says, I live in a group home. I haven't always been in a wheelchair. At 19, I was hit while crossing the street by a pickup truck. The accident left me physically disabled. With the transition to managed care organizations, I worry about continuity of care. What doctors will I be able to continue to see? Will I be as comfortable with new doctors? How experienced and how good will the doctors be? I fear the services I receive, services ranging from my case manager to my doctor, really all services will be less personal. These companies don't know what they are getting into, yet our lives are in their hands. They need oversight, and we need some say in providing it.
Thank you, Senator. One accident away from any of us being there. The next two are Barbara Faber and Melyssa Jo Kelly.
I really welcome the opportunity to speak today. I hadn't planned on it until I started crying so hard listening to the testimony. And the thing I wanted to urge you all to keep in your hearts is the tremendous pain and fear that this terrible change has brought to people with chronic severe mental illness. Living with a chronic severe mental illness, as someone I love has lived for 40 years, you're already beset by all kinds of fears. I remember telling somebody, why don't you try to go to sleep? And he says, it's hard to do when the devil comes out of your mouth in flames. I mean, the kind of terrifying hallucinations and delusions that people with severe mental illness suffer from make life very horrible. And to put on top of that this prolonged period, week after week, month after month, of fear, fear, fear. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know what's going to happen to me. What am I going to do? I could never pay for my medicine. You know, this adding this burden of legitimate, real fear is horrible. And so many of the speakers have talked about fear around basic survival. How can I pay the rent? How can I buy the drugs? But what I want to remind you all of is the torment that terror gives to a person who's already tormented by the symptoms of serious mental illness. And to say that I really appreciate the other speakers, and I certainly wish that if we can't eliminate the privatization of Medicaid, at least to put some serious teeth into some oversight. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? My name is Barb. I live in West Des Moines, and you know, and I'm 55 years old, almost 56. When I was told when I was young that it was best to keep people like me at home with their families. And at one point it was easier to keep us at home because moms and dads were just supposed to bring us home and take care of us. Well, I was one of the lucky ones. I got to stay at home, and we had the insurance that we needed. Well, as I got older, which people never thought we'd make it that far, I became a productive part of society. I've been working since I was 16, and I moved up here in '94 to work for the Independent Living Center, and I've been at Wells Fargo. So I have been a very big part of this society. I had a mom and dad that were both at home. I come from that kind of a family. My older brother is also is mentally retarded, and with the insurance that we could get with Medicaid, he's been able to stay in a group home, which is the best for him, because at some point, moms and dads can't take care of you anymore. Not because they don't want to, but they just can't. But I happen to be lucky. I moved up here. I met a man who I married, and we were together for 17 years. At the end of our life together, he was my care provider, took care of me and everything around us. When I lost him in December of 2013, Mom and Dad couldn't take care of me, but I had Medicaid, but Mom and Dad still had to pay for it. It's for me to be in a nursing home for a month. That's not where I want to be. And then I went into a group home that was not for me. It was the only place that was available for me to stay in town and to continue to work. What's got me now, and because I don't have regular insurance except for Medicare and Medicaid, my county won't pay for my in-home health care provider anymore as of Monday, and managed care was supposed to take over on March 1st. I have no idea who's going to take care of that, and I'm considered a 24-hour, even though I'm not. There's not somebody with me, but I do need somebody there about 130 hours a week to make sure that, to provide me the service that you would want for your kids. Yes, I'm an adult, but parents, when they come to visit and they're looking at you and say, "You look good today," that's because of what you're getting from your Medicaid services. But, you know, what's going to happen as of Tuesday? For me, am I going to end up back in a nursing home or a group home and not be a productive part of society? And am I going to have to leave here? You know, I have been in Des Moines since '94. I love it. I like there's so many activities that I have been involved in, but that's not because of other things. It's because Medicaid has always been available, and I pay for my Medicaid and things so that I can be a productive part of society. I don't want to go anyplace else. So we got to make sure it stays where we need to make sure that, you know, I'm not the only one out there that this is happening to. And when you have, you know, and I'm one of the older ones, I'm afraid for these kids that are coming up. You know, are they going to get the services that they need so that they continue to be a productive part of society? And with it being, whether it's their occupational therapist, their speech, their physical therapist, if I didn't have that when I was a kid, I wouldn't be where I am today. So they have to provide that. I don't care who's doing it, you know, as long as they're good and they get the services, and these people, and we can all grow up to be productive part of society. That's what everybody wants. Whether you're disabled or not, you want to be a productive part of society. That's what I grew up as figuring. Why can't I? My brother did, you know, so why can't I? So what are we going to do? What am I going to do? So, thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments? We are at the bottom of our list, so if you want to, can we close the doors to, the rally has started if you're interested in the rally, otherwise we'll continue here. But we're going to close the doors so we can hear better.
Hi, my name is Brandy McDonough. I wasn't planning on speaking today, but after listening to everybody, I felt like I had to. I'm a mother of a disabled child. He's 24-hour care. He has a trach, ventilator, G-tube. And like I said, somebody needs to be with him at all times. We live in Cedar Rapids. We got a call, it was on or approximately January 8th, when his nursing provider decided to close their doors because of this. We've used them for 7 years to help us. I went to school. I have college debt of $35,000. And when they decided to close their doors, that means I'm not going to be able to work. My husband might not be able to, you know, work. One of us won't be able to work, which means we're going to have to sell our house, which means it's not just affecting, you know, Carson, my son. It's affecting all of us. And yes, I want to take care of my son. I'm his mother, but I can't do it 24 hours a day. And there's already a nursing shortage. And when CarePro told us they're already not reimbursed enough, and now this, because they're not getting the answers that they need. They're for profit. People's lives should not be for profit. It is hurting us. I wake up every day not knowing what is going to happen, and am I going to lose my job? Sorry. But it's scary. This is so scary. And I wanted to share our story because there's not a lot of options out there. And if we don't have the help, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to talk. Can you hear me? My voice doesn't carry very loud.
Just tell us your name and where you're
My
from.
name's Dana Newkerk, and I'm from Des Moines. And I was, all of a sudden, one day, while I was working and taking care of my father, who'd had a stroke, and a cousin who has Prader-Willi syndrome all her life. They're older. She's 79. He's now 81. He's in the early stages of Alzheimer's. At 47, I'm 55 now, and at 47 I woke up one day and I couldn't go out in the sun. I couldn't work at any job inside a building because I had lupus all of a sudden, and it is very severe. And right now, to be in here with these windows open, I risk losing my eyesight. And I need an operation on my eyelid. I just had a problem where I had a direct hit because my sunglasses fell off my face. I have connective tissue problems. I have muscle problems. I have extreme fatigue. I have thyroid issues. And everything hit me at once while I'm trying to take care of two people and work. I was put on the extended Medicaid. I changed my doctor, and I went on their doctor, and she was fairly good. And 5 months later, the state of Iowa, Governor Branstad's administration, denied me to be on extended Medicaid. And so I have to ask my 81-year-old father to pay for my blood tests, which they have to go to the Mayo Clinic because they can't seem to test them here in the state of Iowa. For some reason, their labs aren't good enough. So they go out, and we approximately pay yearly, that I worked out, a little over $2,900. Now, I don't have an income, so I have to ask my father, who's on Social Security, who's going through the early stages of Alzheimer's, to pay for my care because there's no one else in the world to do it, and because I was dropped by the Terry Branstad's administration. I was given 4 papers that wanted my father's, and they were very long. 4 of them, they wanted my father's Social Security, how much he made. They wanted my father's house, how much that was worth. They wanted my father's pension. They wanted my father's bank account. They wanted my father's, how much his car was worth. Every bit of property they wanted me to account for. And not one question asked me what was wrong with me. And now that I was trying to seek redress, you've come up with this privatized way of making money. His administration has come in here, and I'm in limbo again, and I've got 2 people that rely on me. And anytime I get sick, anytime I have an injury, and let me talk to you about injuries, folks. A lady with Prader-Willi syndrome hits people. She kicks people. She pushes people. She's dislocated my knee. She's fractured the side of my head. And nobody will take care of her. And now that the nursing homes are privatized, I can't get her into a nursing home. And they want $200,000 just to talk to me. It's real funny that the ads come on TV where they want somebody to go and put them in a nursing home for somebody that has Alzheimer's, but when I check with those nursing homes, I can't get her in there. So I had to turn around and ask her minister to step in and take this on because I had to make a choice because I got hit so bad, she almost broke 2 of my fingers over Labor Day, and I can't go to a hospital. I don't have the money to sit in a hospital while I try to take care of her and him, and I had to spend my time split. And I don't feel good a lot of times. And they can't get my thyroid medication fixed. So sometimes I'm way up, they put me way up, and other times I'm way down, and most of the time I can't sleep. And I have to be now here for my father 100% of the time, and he was a payee for her, and he made a mistake. And now Social Security is going after him because they think he committed fraud, because at the end of the year he filled out a paper incorrectly because he couldn't do the math anymore. So I've just spent $900 of his money getting a lawyer to protect him, and I had to walk away from her, and I've taken care of her for 30 years. And I'm sick. And you people that are in these privatized companies are trying to make money off of our backs, and all you've done is put me in limbo over and over and over again. This is all the Terry Branstad administration has done for me and my parents, and yes, I'm angry. I'm very angry because I've had to be an advocate for 2 people for many, many years, more years than what anybody could deal with. After raising a family and raising kids, a son with disability and a stepdaughter with epilepsy, I don't have to take care of her anymore because she died. And she died because she couldn't get the care that she needed. And I'm tired of this. Thank you.
Do you want to state your name and where you're from?
My name is Esther van Oostenrijk. I represent...
Yeah. Okay.
My name is Esther van Oostenrijk. I represent both a provider standpoint and a family member standpoint. Provider standpoint, I am the office manager of a small company in Ames who primarily works with young adults with mental health issues. On top of being the office manager and having to go through all of this MCO transition, I'm still working with clients. And a lot of them still don't have all of the information that they need. Some of them haven't even gotten their packets telling them what the options are and everything. They're scared because our local hospital and the local doctor's office haven't contracted with anyone, or I think our doctor's office has only contracted with one. Now they have to decide between health care or mental health versus physical health. And on top of that, we're now losing staff members that they've had for years, care coordinators and case managers that most of these clients have a hard time getting to know. And now these people that they've known for so long, they're actually comfortable with, have left. And people are coming in and out almost every month, changing because so many people are leaving. They don't feel like they can trust anyone. They don't feel like any of this is in their best interest. Again, we're a small company. From the business standpoint, the payment turnaround is not fast enough. And as a small company, we don't have enough of the backup funds to, say, make payroll or pay the bills for our facilities and office to help get things for our clients that they might need extra help with. And it's hard and it's frustrating, and we don't have answers for them because we call and don't get anything. I get a different person, different responses. There was just an issue with our claims from the switch back over to Medicaid. And it's just hard to try and explain this to them when you don't even know what's going on. From the family standpoint, my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 8 years old. And thankfully, my father works for the government as a postal worker. So his insurance takes care of most of it. Sorry. out when he retires that she's not going to be able to get that care, and just one of her medication is several $1,000s. My mom, thankfully, is not as bad as a lot of people could be. She's still mobile. She tried to be as active as she could. She was a stay-at-home mom and then went to work for a school district. But now that she's getting older, there's more bad days. And I just think so much of her for all that she's done despite it, because I know most days she's in pain and she forgets things and she's shaky, and I want to help as much as I can, but I worry for her. I worry for both of them what will happen, because my dad doesn't have too much longer before retirement. And I'm worried that these MCOs are not going to be able to cover everything. They're not making a lot of money between the postal job and working in a school district. And I'm just worried that they're not going to be able to get the care for her that she needs. Thank you.
My name's Andrew Rada, and I'm from Des Moines, born and raised here. First of all, I want to say that this is not what I would expect from Iowa, because what Iowa does for people is not to make money off of them. My daughter is 7 years old, and she has Down syndrome. She's been one of the lucky ones to be very close to not being on Medicaid because she's so smart. But I see every year that we have to go through the possibility of her not being covered any longer because of all the changes in the current system, and then all the changes that are coming up with, we're going to get a phone call from some third party that's going to go through everything that she has happened to her over the last year in her medical, her personal life, everything that has ever affected her in the last year, and then decide, okay, what is her goals going to be for the rest of the year? And my situation is not nearly as dire as some of these people, but I see the roadblocks coming ahead. She's already lost her eye doctor because they don't want to be under Medicaid any longer because they see what's coming up. I used to work for Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I will tell you, no matter what you think of Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, they are a great company. They care about what they do, and they care about the people of Iowa and their employees. They put their employees, honestly, they put them first, and they put their customers as much as important as their employees. My ex-wife worked for them, and the problems I'm seeing with this situation is it's a lot like what's happening with Obamacare. Okay, we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know any of the answers, and then all of a sudden, let's put it aside for a while. Let's wait, let's hold it off, let's find out more information. The thing is my daughter's on medication for her heart. She most likely, when she's in her teens and her in her early 20s, she will end up having some sort of a heart issue. What are we going to do if we have to go to one of these managed care organizations and say they don't cover all the services she needs, or, oh, hey, we don't cover your medication, so you can't get it? We were told in the very first meeting that this ever came up that these are what these managed care organizations are going to be. They're not going to cover all your services, but you're going to have to decide what companies covers the most services that your child needs. And we're like, that's not going to work. They say, well, you're going to have to find out what's most important for your child. Well, what's most important for my child is to get the services that she needs, because it's a domino effect. If she doesn't get one service, the other services are going to matter. If she gets that service, it's not going to go anywhere for her. And when I see children, in the news, they turn 18 years old, they age out of the system, they don't get the coverage or the care that they need. Next thing you know, they've died because they've been out on their own, they're alone, they don't have a family, and they don't have the people that are there in the medical community, which my future sister-in-law is in the medical community, and she is a huge advocate for them. The problem I'm seeing here is that as things go along, that all the changes being made to manage this system, that just because the state of Iowa can't do it themselves and they can't take care of everything that's going on with the claims and being advocates and all that stuff, and they can't do it properly, they want to turn it over to somebody else and have somebody else do it. And you know how many people are unhappy with the managed care organizations and how they deal with things. I just foresee what is the future for my daughter and how many more changes are going to be made to where, oh, you know, she's 18 years old now. We're not going to do anything for her. Her mother and I are going to be in our 50s. Then we're going to be in our 60s. She's going to have a majority of her life left. Who's going to be there for her? Yes, I'm a huge proponent for the private insurance companies. They are the reason I have her, because they had the benefits I needed to have her. But I want you to know that you need to look at, if you're in somebody's shoes that was here today, what would you do? How would you feel if you had a father, a mother, a daughter that you have to take care of? You know, and I just want to make sure that all these people are not going to be forgotten just because Iowa wants to make money and stay ahead.
Thank you, Andrew. We have kind of bring this to a close pretty quick. So would you like to speak as well?
My name is Cynthia Mack, and I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I have a concern about the health insurance companies and privatizing the Medicaid program because, as we all see from year to year, our private insurance, as of January 1, will change the rules depending on the coverage you have and the policy you have. Privatization of Medicaid puts all of these people who are in financial need and assistance in the same situation that private insurance will put everybody else in. That maybe they'll cover it for this year, but they found out it wasn't profitable, say in home care. If the company isn't making money, they're not going to continue to provide the services if there's not a profit there. They're not only in it for the company, they're in it for their stockholders. You affect the stockholders, it affects the stock market. It is a big chain reaction. I'm really scared to see everything go private, just due to the fact that I don't know through the state of Iowa if these insurance companies will be under contract with the state of Iowa to provide certain cares, but in the fact that I've seen private insurance change the rules from year to year, I find that in 2 or 3 years that we might find ourselves in a situation that people will be losing benefits that they truly and dearly need.
Thank you. I think we should probably.
Would you like to speak?
Would you like to speak? I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
You snuck up to the front row. You should speak.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just had one thing to say about medications because I have a liver transplant, and I've already had this situation happen where they switch me from generic drug to generic drug due to, I won't say the pharmacy that I go through, but they just said it was, market value. They just buy it, whatever's cheapest. And in less than 3 months, I went through 3 different types of medication. I finally resolved it because I was on a dosage that was 3 milligrams a day, and they needed to have 1 milligram and a half a milligram, and they were from 2 different companies. And my transplant coordinators told me from the very beginning, if you switch around with these generics too many times, you will reject. And that's a road you don't want to go down. And so I resolved part of my situation. I just looked at it and just said, why don't we just switch to the half a milligram, and then I'm on one company, and until they change my dosage again, which they have since then. But I just stick with the half milligram, which just means I take more pills, which isn't a big deal to me because they're small. But just the simple fact that you're changing, market value, whatever the cheapest generic drug, I don't think a lot of people think of it that way, but there are quite a few drugs that are different in generic, chemical compounds. And even the coating alone on the outside can cause adverse effects with me. It's like a laxative sometimes, and other times it gives you, different things. It releases at different times. And I just fear that they will try to look for the cheapest drug on the market. And I don't mind taking generics. I believe in generics, but I just don't believe that you should be jumping around. And I know down the road there'll be a lot of that shopping around for the cheapest medication. That's all I really want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I wonder if there are any comments you want to make about the amendment, or if we will kind of bring this to a close. Unless you want to make some. Yes, we can. I know Josh has had it, and so we can go through the bill as well, but it really just makes it more, brings it together more and we address the issues that we had talked about in the past. And you can check and see if there are any in there that you'd like to add, and maybe after the testimony today, there might be something else that you have seen and heard that we might want to add as well. Next, I think if we agree on the amendment, we move it to the floor. I'm not sure about tomorrow, but I would probably say next week, early next week. And I think we need to move it forward and, send it over to the House, see if they're going to take it up and move from there. Senator Jochum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here and providing your stories. It's helpful to us. I think we're glad to get the 30-day delay, but really believe we're not ready to move ahead. So this has been helpful to hear where people think we are today. In terms of the bill, it's not clear to me, and maybe we should have another, I'm wondering out loud whether another subcommittee to kind of walk through it so everybody knows what's in it. But one of the things that we heard repeatedly is the notion of having some teeth in the oversight, and it isn't clear to me. I mean, there's a lot of provisions in the bill, and we have an existing oversight committee. It's not clear to me what the role of that oversight committee is vis-a-vis the bill, but it seems like there ought to be, we need to kind of have a conversation about that. Who is going to facilitate this process? Is it the standing committees? Is there an enumerated group within the bill? Is it the existing oversight committee to get a sense of what people, and so I just raise that as an issue. There might be an answer to it now. There might be something we need to
Well, we
visit
can
more about.
we can walk through the bill at any point. I don't know whether you want to do it now because I think we're scheduled for debate.
Yeah.
And we've taken quite. Oh.
Yeah, I don't think we want. I'm not suggesting we do it now, Madam Chair.
But
I'm
I
saying
think it would be good for all of us to be on the same page. I do believe that there are some of the provisions that you're concerned about in here, but it's extensive, and we just got the new amendment down this afternoon. So I think for all of our sakes, we'll do that. Senator Segabar, Senator Mathis, any other comments? If not, we would love to have that and have it all a part of the day. We are tremendously appreciative of all your advocacy. We hope that other people heard outside of this room your stories, and we appreciate that you were willing to come here today and share. It is not always easy, but I think it made a difference to the people around the table. We hope that it made a difference to people outside this room, and that they were listening, and that we can move forward with this bill. And thank you again for your time, and we'll go ahead and adjourn.